So I'd like to bring up our first speaker, as you can see there, David Blunck. And I'll read here a little bit about David real short. So David, he is professor and associate dean of undergraduate programs here in the College of Engineering. He's got a research focus on combustion, ignition, radiation, and energy. Very smart. His groups conduct research that seek to understand the science associated with practical and natural chemical energy conversion. And with that, you have more here, but welcome. Thank you.
Okay, what a pleasure. Can you hear me okay if I stay like this? All right, all those words basically means we burn and learn in my research group. And I'll talk just briefly about that. And sincerely, I am honored and really feel out of my league to be here. I do care very much about safety. I also have my fair share of some personal safety mishaps I'll allude to, but I appreciate the opportunity to come and chat with you briefly today. Okay, so here's my professional, personal connection to safety, and I'll touch on it now and talk more about my journey, so to speak, here shortly, or towards the end. Okay, so in a previous life, I did research for the Air Force Research Laboratory, and so I did fundamental combustion research. We burn things, trying to help us learn things that are in gas turbine engine combustors. So when I first came to Oregon State, we had experiments like this, and we are vaporizing jet fuel. So think of jet fuel, adding air, high temperature. Think safety, okay? So we did it all very safely, but lots of thoughts about safety and how do we do this in a safe, controlled environment, both for this, obviously for the students, and also for the building itself. We then expanded into detonation research. A detonation is a flame that goes about half a mile per second. Very loud, very dangerous, and it releases the energy very quickly. This is a video. This is rotating detonation engine. This would be for propulsion application. This propulsion application would not fly, evidently. That's supposed to be a joke. There's supposed to be a video that comes out. Anyhow, okay, here we go. So again, the flame is going around. You'll see a flame shoot out if it works. Well, all right, anyhow. So from there, we've also brought into doing wildfire research. For context, this is a group of trees that we are burning, trying to understand firebrand generation. That's a whole other conversation. But I'll point out the top of this fan is somewhere between 8 and 10 feet tall. So we're looking at flames, in this case, about 20, 25 feet tall. There's a little bit of safety application. This is a student who was doing some field tests. They were burning juniper. We were there while other people were burning junipers, and we were measuring firebrand production rates. And most recently, we've been burning garden sheds. It's about 12 feet tall. We burned 3 of these larger ones and several smaller ones. This is just a quick video of one of the burns. We have sheets of fire-resistant fabric on the ground. We're using that to collect firebrands. We burn it. The fire department is aware we're burning it. Like we're obviously trying to be very cautious about safety. So this is really my professional involvement. It certainly has evolved with time, but very personally, if I think about one of my graduate students getting hurt, I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I'd have to quit or whatever. I think to me, it's a core of what I have to do. And on a personal note, my family and I have a small hobby farm. And I think about what do I allow my kids to do or not do on this hobby farm? How do we do things safely? And it is on a very personal basis, something I think about. And certainly make mistakes. So with that said, let me pause and give you a safety moment. In our leadership meetings at the College of Engineering, every single meeting we have a safety moment, and because we live in the Pacific Northwest, things grow very well. We're going to have a chainsaw safety moment. So for those of you that use a chainsaw, briefly, let me give you a few suggestions. Certainly before you start your chainsaw, or we'll just call it power saw, check the chain, make sure everything's tight. I'd make sure it's fueled. Make sure you have a proper PPE on. So eyeglasses. I strongly against having a safeguard. I have not always used a safeguard, and I've had to buy a pair of crowns because I did not. Okay? And then chaps. I've also cut my knee right there. Fortunately, who's on the cusp of being really serious, it would have been saved with chaps. So I guess the moral story is don't listen to this Blunck guy for the next 20 minutes. So they recommend if you are fueling a chainsaw, make sure it's cooled down. You're going to have vapor gas. If your gas oil mixture, it's going to be hot in that region, so be cautious there. And then when you're using the chainsaw, make sure you have a firm grip on it. Kick back is a big issue where it can hit a piece of wood and kick back up. That can obviously be very dangerous. And so they say when you're using to minimize or increase your safety for kickback, if you have a handle, hold the handle like this, not like this. You're less likely to slip. You should have a chainsaw that has a brake on it, and if you're moving the chainsaw allowance, set the brake or turn it off. So I know from firsthand experience how important these are. And the last thing I'll say on a very personal note, usually my chainsaw learning opportunities have occurred when I'm like, I'm just going to cut one more branch. I'm just going to reach up a little bit higher, and that's when I have my issues. So for all of you that may be using chainsaw in the next 6 months, I hope you will think about this. Okay, so my goals today are really 3 things. Number 1, I'm going to spend some time just introducing the College of Engineering. I realize you are all the experts in safety, maybe not the experts at Oregon State. So I'm going to introduce Oregon State. I'm then going to talk about how we are working to prepare for the future, and then I'm going to lead that into a discussion about safety. And I'm going to leave it mostly at a higher level, again, acknowledging that all of you are the experts really on safety. So who are we? So when we look at just student perspective, we have over 11,000 students at the College of Engineering. And what I get excited about in my role, we have nearly 10,000 undergraduate students. For context, we're about the 7th largest college of engineering in the country from a student enrollment perspective. And then we have about 1,500 graduate students. Usually, I say this with pride. As I'm thinking about this, I realize I could also say, do I really want my kid to go to a place where the 7th largest college of engineering? And genuinely, I feel like we're large, but I still feel like we, in many ways, have the culture of a mid-sized college. I've had a lot of kind of intimate conversations with all the leadership, and generally, they all care about students. I can tell you some fun stories, but just generally, at the end of the day, it's like, how can we help students? So even though we're large, I do think students very much are at the front and center of what we do. As was alluded to earlier, we have 5 schools and 1 department, and that allows us to offer 15 undergraduate degrees. There's some very strong majors and 16 graduate degrees. So I don't want to call this a one-stop shop, but really, if you're interested in engineering at Oregon State, likely we're going to have a representation. That's one of the advantages of having a large place like Oregon State. We have over 200 tenure-track faculty. The academics may appreciate this. The college had about $85 million in research expenditures. Why that's important is to say that we're also very research active. I think that's important both for giving unique opportunities for students, but also linking to safety and giving students opportunities for students to experience safety and learn about safety firsthand. Okay, so we like to think at Oregon State that we are being transformative. The number one, as far as computer science degrees, are number 1 in the country, 7th largest college, as I said, number 3 for nuclear engineering degrees. I could go on. When I look through this list, what's exciting me at the stem of this is about student preparation. That really is at the core of what we're doing here at Oregon State. So our mission is really to create a better future. I buy into this, but I buy into this in a little different perspective, which I'll share right now. Well, almost. So within the university, about 2 or 3 years ago, there was a new strategic plan that was rolled out. There's 3 to 4 elements to it. I'll highlight 3 today. Number 1 is that we are known for big discoveries that drive big solutions. We are known for doing research that's impactful. The second thing is we have a goal where we're a university where every student graduates. Now, don't take that literally because you realize not every student will graduate, but the sentiment behind it needs to be real. And I believe that we are working towards that. Our target is actually an 80% graduation rate among all students, that irrespective of demographic, background, whatever, that they will graduate as likely as everyone else at 80%. And then we also have a large strategic effort to increase our online enrollment to about 30,000. Okay, so I think a significant amount of my time is about how do we help every student graduate, particularly within the College of Engineering. So we call it undergraduate program team. There's about 40, 45 of us, and we largely are working with students one-on-one or small groups trying to help them progress towards graduation. And so about 2 years ago, we stepped back. What is our personal mission? Independent of the college? Don't quote me on that, but independent of the college, independent of the university strategic plan, what is it that we're excited about? So here it is. So our vision, and this is not something that just goes, that I say lightly, like I think about this, actually literally I touch it every day to remind myself, but our vision is at the College of Engineering at Oregon State University that we become so good at what we do that we are internationally recognized for empowering all students to succeed and graduate and be ready to address global and social technical challenges. So let me highlight just 3 aspects of that. So first of all, this element that students succeed and graduate. The moment they walk through the door, they and their parents and their friends have an expectation they're going to graduate, right? It's on us to do our very best to create an environment that supports them in reaching that goal. The second thing is this element of ready. I think most universities would recognize this and work on it, but to us it's this idea that just because a student has a degree doesn't mean they're ready to go use that degree in a meaningful way. And I think about students who aren't ready and don't have the ability to use their degree to get a job, and I think, could they even be worse off, right? So this idea that we need to help students not just have the degree, but be ready to use that degree and have the skills, credentials to do something with it. And then also this awareness that we need our students to recognize, at the end of the day, engineers, people doing construction, the whole field are really about problem solvers. And we want students to realize they can use that ability to help address some of our world and society's large challenges and opportunities. So I'm going to now focus my talk on what we're doing to help students graduate. Then I'll talk about what we're doing to help students to be ready. Okay, so what does that mean in practice besides what I think is a nice vision statement? So we realized, before my time, realized that a lot of our students, we lose them or they can lose time during their first year while they're figuring out what they want their major to be. And so there's a significant effort and investment that went into students' first year program. And the whole thing is that we have wraparound services to embrace students. And at any time in that first year, if they change their major within the College of Engineering, there's no penalty, as in there's no class that's wasted in the process. So at the end of the first year, if they say, I want to study X in the College of Engineering, no problem. There's no penalty. Whereas before, students would come in, declare mechanical engineering, change majors, go to construction engineering management, whatever it was, and then they have to retake other classes or be behind. Okay? That's just one part of it. So we do that through a series of 3 classes. Talk more about that, why we think those classes are so important. We have co-curricular events that are connected to those classes. In other words, we require students for the classes to go to the events, which are good for their developing a sense of belonging, developing readiness, and helping to get on a strong foundation. We also have a whole series of support systems. We have academic advisors that are dedicated to meeting with first-year students. They are trained in that. They think like first-year students, and they meet with them, I think, about 3 times, once per term, and really trying to help get them under their feet and get them established. We have efforts in the college to strengthen and improve our teaching. This is one example. On the far right-hand side, this is a professor in civil engineering, Shane Brown, whose research background is about how do we improve engineering education. And so he and other people have come and presented to us. We do this about 3 to 5 times a year, and it's been very rewarding to see how many faculty and staff show up. Our last time we had, between in person and on campus, we had over 40 people that showed up midway through the term. I was thrilled for people to show up. Show up. I will also highlight, here's one of our school heads that chose to come. Here's a director of engineering plus. Here's this retired person from HP. So we're really getting, I think, good, solid turnout and buy-in from members of the community. And if you're quick to see, I am somehow, I don't even know what I'm doing there. So I was present. I was glad to be there, but evidently I had issues that day. So everyone except for me is being approved in teaching. We actually have a lot of effort looking at student mental health, mental wellness. You can look at surveys of when students withdraw from the university. The number one reason students cite for leaving, for withdrawing, is not finances, it's not the grades, it's their personal reasons. So then you dig into sub-reasons of personal reasons, and of course students have to pick one, so it's, there can be lots of factors, but their number one sub-reason of personal reasons is their health. So the theory we have is it's not as much a physical health. This is a fairly active group of society, but it's their mental health, their mental wellness, which of course is tied to family, finances, schooling, but in a student's perspective, it's health. So that has led us to partner with our counseling and psychological services organization, who did a year-long study really trying to dig into root causes. What I'm showing here is just a series of recommendations they provided. That led us over the summer and early fall to distill down a College of Engineering action plan for this year. Will we act on it beyond this year? Oh, absolutely. We're biting off one chunk at a time. As one element to illustrate this, we actually have a counselor embedded in our college who meets with engineering students or refers them, and she organizes a series of workshops, all designed to help students with supporting mental health and wellness, trying to educate them. Go figure, okay? And then there's a whole list of other things that we're trying to help more students graduate. I won't read those at this time. Okay, so I talked about our vision. I've alluded or highlighted some of the things we're doing to help students graduate. Now, what about this element of helping students to be ready for whatever their job is? There are many hands-on opportunities for students that we offer. We talked about Engineering Plus, and I talked about the 3 classes. These classes have large lectures, but then they have studio sections of 2 hours and 25 students where they have a GTA and ULAs, like several people that are leading exercises, and then they do projects. I taught this class last fall, and my students designed rockets, and then went out in, or we're gonna say, cow pasture, and launched the rockets. I'll talk about how I incorporate safety in that here shortly, but it's an incredible opportunity for students, first term, second term, third term, we're gonna say, to do hands-on projects, to actually experience engineering. We have over 50 clubs and organizations, and I've been very impressed with the dean and his commitment to providing funding for those because of the opportunities students have to develop in leadership, develop hands-on experience, and really develop into professionals. And then we also have a very robust capstone program, which leads into a very strong engineering expo where students come and showcase. It is just an incredible opportunity. If you ever have an opportunity to come, I'd encourage you to come and experience that. Okay, we also obviously have a role at facilitating opportunities. We have a very strong NECOP program. We have efforts to connect students to professionals. There is called OSU Connections. That's a place where alumni can go and connect. In fact, I'll put a plug in for you to go. But if you connect there, I encourage you to please say be willing to mentor students. We're actually piloting an effort right now for transfer students, if they opt in, that we connect them to, through this site, to mentors who can then help them to make connections, right? Like that's our role, helping to bridge that from a student to what people in practice are doing. OSU Connections. Okay, we also have incredible research opportunities, which I think for some of our students is core to learn about safety. We have a nuclear reactor on site where students have an opportunity to work and participate in a safe way. We have one of the best in the world, basically large pool where they can create waves in it and do research related to that. And of course, students are involved in all of this, the research. We have a driving simulator. We have a lot of robotic effort. This is a robot that's designed to be able to pick like fruit from trees, right? And then we have a new building, which we're very excited about. It's called the Wong Complex. That's going to be a hub, an interdisciplinary hub on campus. And it's going to be right next to the engineering buildings. We're really excited for the opportunities for our students. So lots of facilities, which really enable research and opportunities for our students. And interwoven all that is safety. Okay, so what are we doing within the college to teach and learn about safety? All right, number one, I can't speak for every unit, every PI, all of that, but I can speak to the interaction with the leadership team in the College of Engineering, and there's a genuine commitment to instilling culture. I did a safety moment because I've sat in over 100 different safety moments, probably, in my time here. Every single meeting that I'm in, these leadership meetings, we do a safety moment. And I can remember there's one's about bike safety, there's about traveling when it's dark at night, there's about ladder safety, like the whole spectrum. And I've asked myself, do these safety moments really make a difference for me personally? And then I think about maybe the stupid things I do at my house, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I think, well, maybe it has or hasn't. But the fact that I can remember that, and I can remember these safety meetings more than a lot of the meetings themselves, I think says something. And often I'll be at home and I'll be like, oh, this could be a safety moment. And so in hindsight, is it moving the needle for me personally? I think it is. If I were the dean, would I continue them? I think I would. I think I would. And we're not alone. I know that some of the units periodically do safety moments, and I'll keep going through a list of other things that we're doing, okay? There are some dedicated courses within the College of Engineering. Now, could there be more? Should more? Perhaps. But there are some, okay? At least at the college level, we have a very good relationship with EH&S, Environmental Health and Safety on Campus. Why I say that's so important is as a researcher, I need to interact with them. And if I view them as adversarial, what am I going to do? I'm just going to try to check the box and just try to get it done, right? But if I view them as partners and that we want the same thing and have from slightly different perspectives, I'm much more likely to invest and genuinely try to achieve safety within my research. And I can't say that's the same for all PIs. In fact, that's probably not true. But I think in general within the college, we have a very good relationship with EH&S, and they're really good partners, and I'm grateful for that. The college also invested in safety. About a year ago, we actually had a full-time person in the college dedicated to overseeing safety. This person took a job elsewhere, and we haven't refilled that position, but just to show the sentiment of how much we value safety within the college. And the other thing I'll say is we also, as part of accreditation, one of the things that is considered is the physical environment where students interact. We're evaluated on safety, and it's a safe environment. So again, this is another element that we think about and work towards. And I generally think, if I think back I've been here over a decade, I think we've made continual improvement in both culture and actions related to safety. Of course, we have a long ways to go. So I don't want to say like things are perfect in the college, but I think we're going in the right direction. So I think this is my last slide, where I've also tried to reflect about challenges and opportunities related to helping students to be safety ready. So a few perspectives from my vantage point. I think one of the challenges and opportunities is that a lot of the training and learning happens with individual faculty members when they work with students doing research. So I mentioned the 200 or so tenure-track people that are doing research. Let's say 100 of them are doing experiments and have something to do with safety. Well, let's say 100 doing experiments. So that means you got to get 100 people who are basically hired because they tend to be very independent thinkers and have a very, like a small business mentality. How do we get them to all be aligned? And I have a few suggestions for that, but that is the challenge. And then you overlay that with, in theory, students should be leaving every 2 years, right? So students in, we train them, they leave. Students get in and training. And so how do we, in this very much evolving, or continually evolving process, how do we instill safety? This is, I'll call it off the record. This is maybe intractable, but anyone familiar with the tenure promotion process, to change that process is really hard. But if somehow this could be part of tenure promotion, we would get really good compliance. I guarantee that, okay? The next thing I'll say is we need to make it personal. I'll tell you a little bit about my personal experience, and I'm sure it's nothing new to many of you. So I mentioned I used to work at Air Force Research Lab, and there is a lot of bureaucracy and silliness because we were within Air Force environment. So for example, the Air Force has a policy that you need to count for every single tool every night. Now, if you're working on airplanes, that makes a whole lot of sense, right? You don't want to leave a wrench lying around in an engine or something like that. But if you're working in a research lab, do I need to have it put away every night, closed up, and then you need to go and document it? Probably not so much, right? So we had this environment where it felt like there was excess scrutiny. And our group was like, we got research to do, and that's what we care about, so let's get it done. And so, of course, we try to do things safely, but I would say we didn't, we try to do the bare minimum in some ways in the Air Force culture. So I came to Oregon State, and I'll be honest, I had a little bit of that same culture, like, let's get it done. And of course, I would never do anything like intentionally hurt students, but I wouldn't say safety was at my core. And so I was involved in a small working group to talk about safety in the college, what we could do. And I remember I was there, and they described an experience, some professor at another university, and that I think it was a fatality or a very serious incident that happened with a graduate student. And something clicked with me on that day. I thought, could that be me or one of my students? And I thought, oh yeah, it could be. And on that very day, it clicked with me, it became personal because I could see the potential for that happening, and I could not handle that being on my conscience. That's what changed my perspective on safety. So now when I work with students, do I try very, very hard to instill safety? Oh, absolutely. Could you do better? Of course. But it is something that is part of my DNA now of what I do as I approach it. But without making it personal, it's really, someone has to believe it could happen to them or to their neighbor. Without that, I feel like it's just really hard to move the needle. On the positive note, I have found it's incredibly easy at a university setting to get buy-in from students. I mentioned I went out to do rockets, launch rockets. Of course, I was doing safety. We're launching model rockets. There's some safety risk to it, but on the big scheme of things, it's pretty small. But with those students, like I had this code for like the whistles, and so like I whistle, like, and they were 100% compliant. I worked with some other students who launched rockets to like 60,000 feet. The safety is a whole order of magnitude different. They are always glad to respond. It's never a friction between me and them because I believe the core. They know it's critical to what I do. When I first meet them, I put the fear of death, in some ways literally, in them, and then I just follow up. So I think there's a really unique opportunity to instill that. And the last two comments I'll say, I think e-campus education is an incredible opportunity. Now, how that changes a person's perspective on safety, I don't know. Nor do I think we should stop e-campus for this. But should I think that we should be very intentional that and perhaps a student has a great e-campus education versus in-person education, maybe they have a perspective on safety? I think there's potential. So I think it's something we should be aware of as we move forward in that space. And the last thing that I thought about, I don't know how much your industry uses artificial intelligence, but I'd be willing to guess that with more time, AI will become more and more prevalent. And it's easy, I think, to be, as we begin to gain trust, whether valid or not, in AI results, to overlook the safety element, right? Like AI, if we don't train it, won't even consider safety. It's going to give the right answer, whatever it is the application is. The flip side is there's also potential to embed AI to think through many, many safety implications if we train it and develop it that way. So I think AI could be a two-edged sword when it comes to safety, and I think if we're strategic about it, could be beneficial for us. So with that said, thank you very much, and happy to answer any questions, take any feedback.
My name is Chen Hoko from the University of Kansas, and this is my seventh safety symposium I attended for the previous years. I asked the same question to deans, and my question is, as a dean or associate dean, how do you empower your professors to create a safety culture in undergraduate education? Thank you.
Can I borrow your undergraduate education? Just it has to be the same. So the question is, how do you empower? Yeah, I'll say if I had the role, how do I empower them? I think there needs to be. I'm going to plan on power, but the reality needs to be very present. The dean and the school has to have a unique position to really create the culture and expectation. In our university, in college, we really emphasize promoting inclusivity and diversity, and that is something that is trickling down to the school, to the faculty, like PIs. Like they know that's important. I see that. If that was also the same thing, that we said, no matter what you do, you have to embed safety, and you follow up, we can move the needle. And I think with time, we can move the needle a lot. That's not really empowering, but that set expectations. How do we empower them? My personal belief is, I think there needs to be, we need to make the training as easy as possible. A lot of the busy work, like working with EH&S, like take that off and allow them to focus on the specific safety they can do, and also having a pool of funds Like, if you need to buy hearing protection, great. Like, it should never be a question. Now, obviously, you have grants. That's great to use. But sometimes I've had the like friction of like, well, this would be really good for safety, but I just can't afford it, right? I don't have like a big slush fund to have that. So I think empower them to focus on what's most impactful, to have a good relationship with EH&S, which starts with the college, and then having funds to promote, make it easy for them to promote safety.
All right, thank you. With that, maybe we'll thank David and bring up the panel. Thank you. Appreciate it. Wonderful.